Have you ever felt like you were swimming against the current, exhausted, without the strength to reach the other side? As if, no matter how hard you tried, your fate was already sealed, defeat inevitable? This feeling of helplessness, of hopelessness, can be paralyzing. But today, we're going to explore fascinating research that reveals a powerful force capable of propelling us forward even in the most adverse situations: the power of hope. We'll delve into an experiment conducted in the 1950s with rats by scientist Kurt Richter, research that, despite its ethical controversies, left us an important legacy about the resilience of the mind and the influence of expectation on our ability to overcome challenges. Prepare to discover how a small spark of hope can reignite the flame of your inner strength. The story begins with a mystery, an enigma that intrigued the mind of one of the greatest physiologists of the 20th century, Walter Cannon. He observed a disturbing phenomenon: sudden and inexplicable deaths, apparently without physical cause, in people who had experienced traumatic events or violated cultural taboos. Imagine the scene. An individual, in apparent good health, suddenly succumbs after a profound emotional shock. Cannon called this phenomenon voodoo death, and believed the cause lay in a massive adrenaline rush, leading to an irreversible state of shock. But Kurt Richter, a biologist and geneticist with an inquisitive mind, decided to investigate further, seeking to unravel the mechanisms behind this mysterious phenomenon. Richter, in his laboratory at Johns Hopkins University in the United States, designed a series of experiments with rats. He placed them individually in cylinders of water, carefully observing their behavior and recording how long they swam before finally drowning. The initial objective, as you may recall, was quite specific: to study stress resistance in different types of rats. Domestic bred in the laboratory, hybrids, the result of crossbreeding between domestic and wild rats captured directly from their natural habitat. The expectation was that wild rats, more robust and adapted to the struggle for survival, would demonstrate greater resistance. The results, however, challenged the predictions and paved the way for a surprising discovery. Domestic rats, accustomed to the controlled environment of the laboratory, with regular access to food and water, swam for hours, demonstrating unexpected resistance. On average, they persisted for 40 to 60 hours before succumbing to exhaustion. The hybrids, in turn, showed intermediate resistance, a reflection of their mixed genetic heritage. But the most intriguing finding, the one that truly piqued Richter's curiosity, was the behavior of the wild rats. Strong, agile, skilled swimmers in their natural environment, they drowned in a matter of minutes, some in less than 15. Imagine the contrast. Wild rats, theoretically better prepared for survival, proved much more vulnerable than their domesticated relatives. How to explain such a significant discrepancy? Where was the flaw in the logic? Cannon's explanation for sudden deaths, excess adrenaline leading to shock, seemed not to apply to Richter's rats. The collected data showed a different picture. The animals died not from a frantic acceleration of heartbeat and breathing, but rather from a progressive deceleration, as if they were giving up the fight, surrendering to the inevitability of drowning. From this observation, Richter formulated a bold and innovative hypothesis. Wild rats died not from physical exhaustion, but from something much deeper, from a loss of the will to live, from a lack of hope. Imagine the situation through the eyes of a wild rat. Accustomed to freedom, to the vastness of the fields, to the autonomy of seeking its own food and shelter, it suddenly finds itself confined in a glass cylinder, an artificial and hostile environment. The cold water rises inexorably. The threat of drowning is imminent, and there is no escape in sight. For Richter, this situation of complete helplessness, this lack of control over one's own destiny, triggered in wild rats a profound state of hopelessness, a kind of surrender to what seemed to be an inevitable fate. But, if this hypothesis were true, how to explain the resistance of domestic rats? Why did they persist for so long in an equally adverse situation? Richter believed that the key to this enigma lay in a small spark, a faint flame that still flickered within the domestic rats: hope. Accustomed to human contact, to the controlled environment of the laboratory, they had learned to associate the presence of researchers with the provision of food, water, and care. Perhaps, on some level, even if not consciously as we humans understand it, they maintained the expectation, the hope that the human hand would come to their aid again, that the situation was not completely hopeless. This hope, however tenuous, functioned as an engine, driving them to continue swimming, to fight for survival, even when their physical strength was almost exhausted. To test this hypothesis, to prove the influence of hope on the rat's behavior, Richter introduced a new element into the experiment, an element that would change everything, the experience of rescue. He repeated the procedure with other groups of rats, but, just before they drowned, at the moment they seemed to have given up, he removed them from the water. He held them for a moment, allowing them to feel the safety of contact, the certainty that the threat had passed, and then placed them back in the cylinder. The result was simply stunning, clear evidence of the power of hope. The rats that experienced this brief rescue, this intervention that interrupted the cycle of hopelessness, swam for a significantly longer time than the others, sometimes up to 60 times longer than before. The experience of being saved, of experiencing the possibility of escape, of feeling that the situation was not completely lost, rekindled the flame of hope within them, renewing their energies and strengthening their will to fight. Think about the magnitude of this transformation. A simple touch, a brief moment of safety, was enough to completely change the course of the experiment, to reveal the extraordinary power of hope. And have you ever felt this way? Trapped in a cycle of hopelessness, in a situation that seemed to have no solution, until an unexpected event, a small light at the end of the tunnel, rekindled your inner strength and propelled you to keep fighting? Perhaps it was a kind word, a gesture of support, a small victory that reminded you that you are capable of overcoming challenges. Just like Richter's rats, who found the strength to keep swimming after being rescued, we too can draw inspiration from our own experiences of overcoming, from moments when hope guided us out of the darkness. Richter's research, although conducted with animals and subject to important ethical questions, offers us a profound and timeless lesson about the power of hope in human life. How often do we face challenges that seem insurmountable, situations that lead us to doubt our capacity for resilience, moments when the desire to give up seems to be the only option? In these moments of adversity, hope, the belief in the possibility of change, in the ability to overcome obstacles, can be the driving force that propels us to continue, to seek creative solutions, to not surrender to discouragement. But hope is not just a passive feeling, a vague sense of optimism. It is an active force, an energy that moves us, that inspires us to act, that connects us with a better future, with the possibility of realizing our dreams and aspirations. It feeds on our memories, our past experiences, our small and large victories, the memory that we have overcome challenges before, that we are capable of rising again after falls. And, just as Richter's rats found the strength to keep swimming after the experience of rescue, we too can draw on our own stories of overcoming to rekindle the flame of hope in times of difficulty. Think about your own journey. What were the moments when hope guided you, strengthened you, propelled you to continue? What were your experiences of overcoming that inspire you to keep hope alive, even in the face of adversity? Share your stories, your reflections, in the comments. Let's create together a network of inspiration, a space to celebrate the power of hope and the power of human resilience. Remember, even in the darkest moments, the flame of hope can light the way, guiding us towards the light, towards a better future. The ability to believe in a positive future, even when circumstances seem unfavorable, is an extraordinary force that resides within each of us, waiting to be awakened. And you, what will be your next step on this journey? The answer, as always, is in your hands.